Good evening, all of my One Day at a Time bloggers. If you are a returning blogger, then welcome back, and I am extremely proud of you for embarking on this journey with me. If you are new, then again, welcome to One Day at a Time blog. I pray there is something that I say that provides you with mental freedom and clarity. As usual, I hope that everyone had a delightful day. I had a marvelous day. I was off work and I was able to enjoy this beautiful fall weather that we had. I am a fall baby. I was born in October, so this is a time that I thrive. That is actually something that we can talk about in a later post. Actually, our season that we're born in is usually when we experience the most mental freedom and the most mental clarity. It has to do with the alignment of the suns and the stars and the planets when we were born. And also, 6 months out is a lot of times that we just experience an unusual mental cloudiness, and we feel just sometimes a little depressed. But that also has to do with the alignment of the suns and the stars. There's actually there's scientific knowledge to, again, the way that the mind and the brain physically works. But again, that is a whole entire different blog. We will tackle that one day. But for now, if you are a fall baby like me, then I know you enjoy this day. Let's look forward to enjoying the next few weeks before winter just comes barging in. So we have been talking about the broad entity of the mind. We have been focusing on the 6 dimensions of the mind, and a quick recap of those dimensions are love, fear, joy, boredom, hatred, and sexuality. Yesterday, we tackled the dimension of the mind of love. I was able to give some great pointers. I received great feedback. If you are just now tuning in, I encourage you to please go back and engage in that blog, because there was some great information there that could possibly change your life and change somebody's life that is in your inner circle. Today, as promised, I said I would return to you and we would talk about the dimension of the mind, which is fear. I'm going to be, of course, looking off screen at my notes, so excuse me when I look away. What is fear? Fear is a very, very dark nature in the mind. All of our minds have a tendency towards fear. Some of us have more tendencies towards fear, basically due to our natural makeup, which is our DNA. Unfortunately, some things we're born with due to past experience of our parents. That's what we call evolution. And so some of us just are more adapt to be more fearful of things than others. It's not your fault, but it can be fixed. A fearful mind is a huge source of disturbance because it constantly creates resistance to your movement, to whatever that may be, basically your purpose in life. The various forms of fear in the mind are panic, anxiety, worry, concern, horror, depression, guilt, insecurity, obsession, negative excitement, nervousness, and restlessness. Not all fear is bad. I don't want you to get it confused and think that because you're afraid of something that you're bad. For instance, if you go out right now and you see a dog barreling towards you, or if you see a poisonous snake, or if you see a car headed down the road towards you, of course you're going to experience fear. And that is good fear. That is fear that can save your life or the lives of someone around you. But the problem is when we have irrational fears that it overcomes our mind. It is very, very debilitating, and it can become a huge deterrent in our life. It creates anxiety, and ultimately it can cause us to lose focus of our goals and our purpose. The goal of fear is not to alleviate it. Again, I said there is good fear, but we want to become conscious and we want to be aware of fear and when it becomes an unhealthy mindset that we are having. A mind that has a strong proclivity towards fear will keep producing fear-based thoughts. But when you become conscious, you stop fueling this nature, and the mind starts losing the fear intensity and the power to influence the way you respond to fear. In other words, you are able to start moving from a place of inspiration and wisdom that's not dominated by fears. Now, all of that sounds very complex, but I'm just going to break it down very simple to you through some personal things that I am going through. And I'm just going to relate it to my blog, which again is the One Day at a Time blog. I love to tell people that I am also a work in progress. Mental freedom and clarity, as I've told you many times, it is not one destination. It is multiple destinations and multiple journeys. You will never, ever, ever stop trying to reach a new level of mental clarity and mental freedom. So my current journey is my new blog, this One Day at a Time blog that I have created. And this blog has created fear. It has truly created fear in my mind and in my heart. I have constantly heard these questions over and over in my mind. And those questions are, who are you, Nicole, to create a blog? You're not a psychologist. You're not a psychiatrist. You don't have a master's or a bachelor's degree in this. But you are someone that's just trying to step out on faith. And we realize that we're trying to step out on faith, that a lot of times that produces a lot of fear. I've even told myself, nobody's looking at the views, but I've even stopped looking to see who was viewing, because that can be also a sense of fear that is irrational that will cause me to stop doing this blog. In talking about this fear, I wanted to tell you how debilitating it can be. Because today, again, I told you fear was it was plaguing my mind. It was plaguing my mind. And so today, when I went to Family Dollar, I actually encountered a situation where if I had allowed fear to completely debilitate me, I would have not been able to reach out and minister to someone that was really in need. So again, I had to run into Family Dollar to grab a few items, and I actually met this cashier that shared her story with me. When I got to the cash register, my first response was, good evening, how are you doing? And side note for that, whenever you're out and you are just, even if you're at a McDonald's line or a Walmart line, whoever the person is that's serving you, take a moment to just say hello. Take a moment to speak. These people are people as well, and although they are providing your service that you're paying for, they deserve the same respect that you would give to anybody else. It is so often that I've seen people be so rude and disrespectful to the people that are serving them for absolutely no reason. And a lot of time, these people, remember, I tell you, a good majority of people are living with an unhealthy mindset. They're living very depressed, and you would be surprised how you could impact their life by just simply saying hello and simply speaking to them and asking about their well-being. I've been almost in awe when I've asked people and they stare at me for a few seconds and they don't know how to respond, because people in general do not take the time to be concerned about the well-being of the person providing them the service. So anyway, I got to the cash register, and as I usually do, I said, how are you doing? And she actually, in that moment, she felt the need to explain to me a very sad situation she was going through. She explained to me that she was going through a separation with her husband. And my first question to her was, well, is it a good thing? Is this going to make you have a better life? And her response to me was, well, from me telling you the story, then no, I miss him. I love him. I don't feel like I'll ever be the same without him. But then she said, from the people on the outside looking in, everyone told her that she was going to be more successful because this man was verbally abusive. He was physically abusive. He was not helpful with her kids. He basically was just a poison in her life. Now, this goes back to what we talked about yesterday of having an unhealthy love dimension of your mind. She had an unhealthy love life with herself, because if she loved herself, she would not be sad that she was losing a man that was not a positive influence for her. But instead, because she had an unhealthy love dimension of her mind, she wanted to cling to something that was unhealthy. And so I was able to just minister to her a little bit. I provided her the website for the One Day at a Time blog. And I told her I was going to come back in and see her in a couple of days just to see how she was progressing. But the point of that story was, if I would have allowed my fear the entire day to completely debilitate me, and for me to just allow that irrational fear to just overtake me, then I would have not been in the right place to speak with her at that cash register and provide her with that temporary moment of mental freedom. So that again brings me to another topic. I like to sometimes just put little inserts in my blog of things that I experienced during the day, and also information that developed from that experience that I feel like was life changing for me, and that I feel will be life changing for you. So what was even more exciting about that situation is I learned that basically all the dimensions that we're talking about of the mind work together. And I started asking myself, well, why is it whenever you go out places, or why is it that in general that you seem to attract people that have such negative stories to tell you, or they seem like such negative people? Like, I'm always telling my husband, I'm like, oh, I don't have any friends, but my phone is always blowing up with texts with people want me to help them, or people just needing more insight. And that brought me to this topic that we're gonna talk about. As I was walking out, the lady was telling me, she's like, well, I'll probably get another man, but people always say you just attract what you are. I'll probably attract another negative, abusive man. And when I thought about that, I said, well, actually, I was praying about it, and God revealed these things to me. And I actually talked about this a little bit before when I worked at Strategic with the employees. It is actually not normal. People will say negative people attract negative people, and positive people attract positive people. But guess what? That is not the law of nature. It does happen, but it's very unnatural. I remember all of us had science class, and what happens when you try to connect the north and north poles? They repelled each other. They would not attract to each other, and you literally had to force them together. It was very, very unnatural. But if you tried to connect north and south poles, they attracted. So for someone like me who has a general positive outlook and a general positive energy, I actually attract, well, we'll refer to my energy as a north magnet. We'll say I'm a north magnet. I generally attract south magnet people, which are negative people. The reason for that is positive people do attract negative people, and negative people attract to those positive people because we all have an innate desire to feel positive and to feel whole as individuals. I used to work as a psych nurse for adolescents. Most of you know me in that capacity. And a lot of you know that as soon as I would walk in a room, the first response would be, Nurse Nicole, Nurse Nicole. And they would literally all come and hug and cling to me. And sometimes it was a matter of having to peel them off of me. That again is they were negative energy. And when a positive energy walked in the room, it was natural. They naturally just wanted to adhere to me and to be a part of that. Energy is transferable. And so unfortunately, we had employees there that also had negative energy. I mean, it's normal. And those employees and those residents were always having some type of conflict. And that's natural. That's natural because they're like negative energy, negative energy. What happens? What happens to them? They repel each other. They do not attract. And so there was always some type of conflict. The purpose of the attraction of positive energy is to attract people with negative energy. We are designed, God designed us as people purposed to serve others. So, of course, when I walked into Family Dollar, there was like 5 or 6 other people in front of me that she did not desire to tell her story to, but for some reason she even told me she felt compelled to tell me her story. So, you can evaluate your level of mental energy by the people that you attract. If you're always surrounded by negative people, there actually might be a reason for that. It might be because you are in a mental free place. You are in a positive place, and there's negative people out there. Even though they don't realize it, they naturally are going to attract to you because their subconscious mind, which I told you takes up about 90% of our mind, is naturally going to attract to a positive mind. So if you are that person like I am, then don't be discouraged. Then start introducing them to mental freedom. Even if you don't know where to start, introduce them to my blog. And even if it's just for a temporary moment, somebody negative that you met in the gas station that's just all of a sudden cursing at you for no reason, provide them with some inspiration, some positive thought, even if it's just got to be something, have a great day, then that is their moment, believe it or not, of temporary mental freedom. And it could be the start of something great. Now it is true that negative people can attract negative people as well. And how is that? Especially how I just explained this. It's because your energy field is not healthy. This is what we were talking about earlier. The subconscious of the mind, if it's not balanced, is going to attract the wrong thing. For instance, if you were in science class, you could take a magnet and you could temporarily reverse its polarity, meaning you could actually make a North Pole into a South Pole. And if that was the case, that North Pole is now going to temporarily attract the wrong magnet. But again, that is because it is in an altered polarity. Its polarity, it has been changed. It is not healthy, and it is not going to stay that way. That is the same as with us as people. If we are living in an altered state of being, an unhealthy state of being, then we are going to attract the wrong people. But then again, once we get healthy, then again, we're going to start attracting the right people. And unfortunately, if you're a positive person, then yes, you are probably going to start attracting negative people, but there is a reason for that. Fear. This fear that we have, it can either debilitate us or it can be a catalyst that wakes us up and it pushes us to awaken our mind. And that's what happened to me today. My fear, I did not allow it to control me, but I allowed it to awaken me. I allowed it to let me minister to this girl and to also realize, yes, there is a need. There is a reason why I'm doing this one day at a time blog. To end this blog, I will say this. There's never a time when the mind will be fully free of fear. It's not impossible because fear is a dimension that is ingrained in us. So it's not about reaching a state where your mind stops producing fear, but about reaching a consciousness or awareness where you're no longer influenced by the mind's fear. The more stable your awareness is, the less likely you are to be pulled into your mind's fears. So wake up, everybody. Wake up. Wake up. Acknowledge your fears, but do not live in your fears. Be accessible from people to people that are around you. If your energy is attracting the wrong people, then it's time to make your mind space healthy. If your energy is attracting the right people, then it is time to start living out your purpose. Thank you for sharing with me. Tomorrow we will be tuning back in. We'll be talking about the dimension of the mind of boredom, which is another very debilitating dimension if it is not healthy. I love you, and starting tomorrow again, I hope you wake up and take it one day at a time.